but don't touch. Touch, but don't taste. He's a sadist. He's an absentee landlord. Worship that? Never. I'm a humanist. Maybe the last humanist.
Al Pacino playing a humanist and a lawyer. That's the classic legal film, The Devil's Advocate, which is now marking its 25th anniversary at a time when law seems to be a nearly constant source of fixation and debate in our politics, our national culture. Lawyers keep emerging as key characters in the clash over Trump's failed coup and the future of our democracy. Pacino plays a scheming lawyer using his knowledge of the rules to break them. That may echo lawyers like Giuliani and cool plotter John Eastman, both under investigation for committing crimes themselves. Then there are the other lawyers who stepped up as the people who tried to hold the line against that coup. Some of the most vital, damning testimony about Trump's attempts to overthrow the election and to support the insurrection came from lawyers. Government lawyers at the White House, lawyers for the vice president, who tried to, they say, act as shepherds of the law in those roles. Which brings us to this classic archetype. In The Devil's Advocate, you have Keanu Reeves playing the everyman trial lawyer who believes it's possible to play by the rules without losing your soul.
I don't like Alexander Cohen. I don't think he's a nice person, but this isn't a popularity contest. It's a murder trial.
And in the film, that lawyer's approach is tested when he goes and joins a fancy Manhattan law firm headed by Al Pacino's John Milton, who turns out to be evil. And not just like a bad lawyer, but actual evil in the sense that he is the literal devil.
Killed those people.
You really believe that?
He set me up. He set me up. Melissa, the whole thing. I know him.
Gotta go with your gut.
I don't like it here, Kevin. These women, my God, I mean, I'm seeing things for Christ's sake.
Free will. It's like butterfly wings. Once touched, they never get off the ground. No, I only set the stage. You pull your own strings. I don't lose. I win. I win. I'm a lawyer. That's my job. That's what I do. Who in their right mind, Kevin, could possibly deny the 20th century was entirely mine? All of it, Kevin. All of it. Mine. I'm peeking, Kevin.
Peeking. Now, the story is riveting partly because the devil is a fascinating villain. That brazen rule-breaking is the whole point. And there's a timeless appeal there on display also in our politics lately. Obama campaign veteran and Beat guest Komanduri draws a clear line to Trump here, arguing that Pacino's devil and Trump both command attention because their flagrant, over-the-top villainy is exciting. And there's a joy in transgressive behavior. You're having a great time while doing something you shouldn't. He notes that the mischief is then performed for all with even a sly smirk.
We achieved more than anyone thought possible. Nobody thought we could even come close.
I'm a surprise, Kevin. They don't see me coming.
Frankly, we did win this election.
It's my time now.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one.
Vanity is definitely my favorite sin.
It goes beyond performance. There's actually something pretty modern about imagining the devil or the forces of evil that we would have to confront as a society or a democracy in the form of the litigator or the technocrat. Skilled lawyers can often deceive people without lying and shape perception while staying within technical lines. Now, in preparing this segment, as you saw, we talked to Komanduri. He sees a parallel here, too. He says Pacino's Milton and Trump both relish showing off their skill. They break things legally for the most part. And he's right, even if you might think, gosh, hasn't Trump crossed the line? he is currently under investigation for breaking things illegally, and his time may come. But in many, many cases, from Mueller's mixed bag and obstruction to financial shenanigans, Donald Trump does two things that have helped his survival. One, he typically tests everything and goes over the line bit by bit, which means keeping track of knowing where the line is, and that means he's thinking ahead to complicate any potential case against him. He did back down from illegal plots like the military coup, as we reported. He demanded the DOJ interfere with vote counting, but then backed down on that as well. He has testified and folded when it was clear that basically he was going to face too much blowback. So he pushed way past where you're supposed to, but still backed off when he saw a criminal case over the horizon. I said two things, and here's the second, and it brings us back to the devil's advocate. Trump always deploys other people for the dirty work. He avoids leaving fingerprints like he avoids email. In just these past few years, we've seen 2 employees convicted and sentenced to prison for what they did for him. Right now, 2 other lawyers are facing possible indictment for the failed coup. Again, an activity for Donald Trump. Now, it's striking, and I got to tell you, somewhat embarrassing for those lawyers, but many of Trump's lawyers are habitually in trouble, not because they're bad litigators in the sense of being incompetent or making mistakes, but because they get caught crossing lines for Trump. Like who you see on your screen, coup plotter John Eastman, searched by agents. It's the first time that's ever happened in his career after he started working for Trump. These are Trump's lawyers, his counsel, his advocates. Which brings us back to this devil's advocate. The profession of law faces these morals questions basically every day. How do you defend a guilty client? How do you draw a line between past conduct and future misconduct? How do you differentiate with ethics, if you can keep them, between zealous advocacy, which people are actually legally entitled to, and committing new crimes for a client, which neither they are entitled to nor is any lawyer allowed to do? That can get you indicted, and then you need a lawyer of your own. Komanduri also notes this theme is important in the film and today's democracy clashes. He says mounting a strong defense for criminals is part of a fair civilization, but the legal profession contains the seeds of civilization's potential downfall. We see this in the defenses of Trump's behavior, both legal and political. He never seems to run out of devil's advocates. Now, in fiction, those advocates include an actual devil. This film is based on a book by Andrew Niederman, who says he decided to make the devil a top lawyer because in the modern world, that's where he thought the devil would operate most comfortably, taking either side, maneuvering. Now, Niederman's an author who follows politics closely, and he sees parallels to Trump. In researching this report for you tonight, he actually told us in the film there's this character of a rich New Yorker who basically gets away with murder by hiring the right attorneys. In the movie, they shot that character's home as the top 4 floors of 725 Fifth Avenue, which is Donald Trump's actual, real gilded home you see here at Trump Tower. Now, that may sound like one more kind of surreal cultural overlap, but it's actually more than a coincidence about a movie, if you think about it. It also reflects the truth. The real Trump, pre-politics, was notoriously eager to cameo in just about any movie that he could get into, even with bit parts that made fun of him, or even touting a building he owned when he couldn't get himself on camera. Niederman explored that very theme as the downfall for some in his work. It is the theme of vanity, which some may also call a sin, and can lead people who have it all to take seemingly wild risks and make seemingly inexplicable mistakes, which is how the devil's advocate ends its story, with the devil seizing on his favorite sin.
I'm terribly sorry, but I can no longer represent my client.
This is a story that needs to be told. It's you. You're a star.
Baby.
Call me in the morning.
You got it. First thing.
Bye, Larry.
Vanity. Definitely my favorite sin.
Vanity. You can use the word sin or shortcoming or moral failing, whatever you think it is that drives people to make these type of mistakes. It is also the thing that we have seen tempt so many people past the path they initially chose in politics or public service into something much more terrible that we all have to live through. And that's why when we talk about the law and rules and morality and ethics, we're not just talking about boundaries as they are written down and handed down. We're talking about whether we as a society can hold together with what we believe to be good and the best for all over evil and the triumph of oppression by a very, very small few. The stakes really are that big when you talk about democracy, and I'm thrilled to tell you we put this piece together because we have the author of the original book, The Devil's Advocate, here with us live tonight, Andrew Niderman, along with Jay Komanduri, our in-house film buff, when we come back.
Why lawyers? Why the law?
Because the law, my boy, puts us into everything. It's the ultimate backstage pass. It's the new priesthood, baby. Did you know there are more students in law school than there are lawyers walking the earth? We're coming out!
There it is, and we are joined now by a friend of the beat, Jay Komanduri, Obama campaign veteran, and the aforementioned Andrew Niderman, author of The Devil's Advocate. The book inspired the film. He also has the new prequel titled Judgment Day out now. Welcome to both of you. Andrew, this piece is about one of my favorite legal movies, and it came about because you reached out mentioning some of the parallels to today's life and politics. Your thoughts?
Well, I think you did a fantastic job of analyzing the book and the movie. One of the things, though, that I think goes deeper, and my students at Fallsburg High School don't think I'm putting them back in the classroom, but, you know, an author doesn't realize what his impact will be on his viewership or readership when he finishes the book. It takes quite a while to realize that. In my case, when I went to the film premiere of The Devil's Advocate, Helen Mirren, the actress who was married to Taylor Hacker, the director, pulled me aside and said, "What you've written is a morality play." And what she was talking about is a theatrical reality play in which the characters are personifications of absolute things. So Milton is a personification of evil, and Kevin is a personification of every man in his quest for success and for wealth. And what I realized over time was that what Milton was trying to do with his lawyers, what we're seeing happening in America today, is that good and evil, the standard of behavior that we use, has changed. It's now winning and losing. Winning has become the new good, and losing has become the new evil. So if you accept that, if you live that life, if you think that winning is it, then all the sisters and brothers come along with it, like hypocrisy, denying the facts, refusing to believe things that you see in front of you, distorting, lying, which, you know, Trump has been quoted as lying 30,000 times. But I think that is the new standard that we're fighting against right now, because if we accept that, if winning and losing is the new good and evil, then everything else is okay. It's okay to be a hypocrite. It's okay to lie. It's okay to look at a fact and say it's not there, because what I want the most is to win. And the best examples of that are the two Supreme Court justices who lied to Congress so they wouldn't overrule Roe versus Wade. And as soon as they could, did it. But it's okay. Nobody seems to be, you know, asking for them to be removed from the Supreme Court. They lied to win.
Right.
And they did.
Yet,
they won.
Right. And you lay it out there, and the overlap. And Che, you know, it's funny to say this on the news, but the devil's power comes not from what he or she or the devil, it does, but from what the devil gets others to do. And so you drew that parallel to these lawyers who are in so much trouble, some of whom I should mention, whatever their politics may be, some of them have had illustrious multi-decade careers. And the first time they look at a disbarment or a crime is after they go to work for this man, Donald Trump. Che?
Yeah,
and I think...
he says that.
Sorry, that was to Che. Andrew, I'm going to go Che and then bring you back.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what the devil's advocate does, which is, I think, so brilliant, is it really examines the psychology of selling out. Like, why do people sell out? And one of the biggest things about the Trump era is why have so many members of the GOP gone along with Trump? I mean, we just saw it this last week when virtually the entire GOP denounced Liz Cheney, McCarthy, Dan Crenshaw, for making arguments that we all know that they agree with. I mean, Kevin McCarthy basically said what Liz Cheney was saying himself after January 6th. And I think what the book gets at and the movie gets at is vanity. Vanity is really the key as to why somebody chooses to sell out. It's not just money. I mean, I think that money's nice, but it's vanity, it's prestige. I mean, you hear the Keanu Reeves character in the movie, Kevin Lomax, say, I win, I'm a lawyer. He talks constantly about his streak of winning every case. That's more important to him than any ethical consideration. That's more important to him than his wife, Charlize Theron. What matters is his vanity, his desire to win. And I think that's exactly what you see with the Republicans and why they're following Trump, at least the Republican leadership.
Andrew?
Yeah, that was my point, what I was trying to say, that winning and losing have become the new good and evil. And I think I saw that, ironically, not right away when I wrote the book. It took a while to realize what I wrote. And it was fun to find more themes that apply to today's world than they did 25 years ago. I think the book's more alive today than it was then because of the way things have changed in our politics and our social life. And I mean, I'm honored by the fact that people recognize that and that it was so well done in the movie. I remember when I first got on the set with Pacino, he and I talked about the creation of the devil and how some people, how some organizations deliberately wanted a devil to exist so they'd have something for them to be against and make you do what they wanted to do. And ironically, not ironically so much, but the history of the devil's advocate goes all the way back to 1587 when Pope Sextus V, he appointed somebody to argue for the devil. I don't know if anybody remembers that or knows that. So when somebody was nominated to be a saint, there had to be a devil's representative there to tell all about the bad things of this person.
Right. Which goes to, I'm just going to jump in, Andrew, to say, I'm going to jump in to say that goes to some of what people feel today, which is, must everything be defended up to the end? What is the line? And you see that when, like I mentioned, lawyers are allowed to defend past crimes, but they're not allowed to commit new ones. I'm running short on time, Andrew. The last thing I was going to ask you is, what did you think of the decision to have such a sort of a sober, mellow, understated devil in the performance by Al Pacino?
I thought it was great because, sometimes he's charming. And if we go back to Hamlet, we have him saying that the devil has the power to be persuasive and charming. And I think Al captured that. You don't want a devil who is the devil, who looks like the devil and acts, because he doesn't get close to you. Evil gets close to you. I was half joking because he was looking good.
Andrew, I was half joking because he was so over the top.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I watched him do that scene in The Office like 14, 15 times. And every time I said to Taylor, that was fantastic, he'd say, wait, he wants to do it again. Because he wasn't at this spot on the line.
I can imagine.
It was fun. It was fun. It was
great to see I appreciate it. As mentioned, you and Che both have a lot of interest in both film and politics. Some of this really does hold up at this moment. So Andrew's debut on The Beat, I hope you'll come back. Che, always good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it from both of you.